The year 1965 was a pivotal time in American history. The civil rights movement was in full swing, as people from all walks of life gathered to fight for equality and justice. Activists were marching, organizing, and speaking out against racial discrimination, determined to bring about change in a society that had long been divided. In cities across the nation, protests erupted as citizens demanded their rights. One of the most significant events during this time was the Selma to Montgomery marches, where thousands marched to demand voting rights for African Americans. The determination of these individuals shone brightly, but it came at a cost. Many protesters faced violence and injuries as they stood up for their beliefs. As the protests continued, many brave healthcare workers stepped forward to help those in need. Among them was a dedicated nurse named Veronica Ellis. She was just 29 years old, and already made a name for herself with her compassion and tireless work ethic. The demands on medical professionals grew heavier each day as they treated the injured and provided support to those fighting for justice. The atmosphere was charged with emotion. People were filled with hope, but also fear and fatigue. Veronica worked day and night, not only tending to physical wounds but also offering comfort to the weary souls who came through the hospital doors. She became a beacon of support during this tumultuous time. As Veronica continued her critical work, she didn't realize how deeply her efforts were being noticed by those around her, including influential leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His presence loomed large in this chapter of history, symbolizing hope and resilience amidst struggle. Little did anyone know that Veronica's unwavering commitment would lead to a touching moment of gratitude that would be remembered long after those chaotic days ended. Veronica Ellis was not just any nurse, she was a beacon of hope in a time of chaos. At 29 years old, she had already built a reputation for her kindness and unwavering dedication to her patients. Working at a local hospital, Veronica often found herself in the emergency room, where the atmosphere buzzed with urgency and tension, especially during the height of the civil rights protests. Day after day, she witnessed the bravery of protesters who stood up for their rights, determined to create a fairer world. These individuals were filled with passion, but many faced injuries from clashes with authorities. Veronica felt it was her duty to care for them, knowing that behind each injury was a story of courage and resilience. With steady hands and a compassionate heart, she treated cuts, bruises, and more serious wounds that came through the hospital's doors. What set Veronica apart was not just her medical skills but also her ability to connect with those she treated. She listened to their stories, offering words of encouragement and comfort when they needed it most. To them, she wasn't just a nurse, she was a friend who understood their struggle. Her long hours helped ease their pain, both physically and emotionally. Despite the heavy demands on her body and spirit, Veronica never complained. She believed that this was her way of contributing to the fight for justice. Each protester she helped added fuel to her passion. She felt like part of something much bigger than herself. Yet as days turned into nights filled with continuous care, exhaustion started to creep in. Little did she know how important her presence would soon become beyond the walls of the hospital, a moment that would bridge her life with someone as influential as Dr. King himself. As the days blurred into nights, Veronica Ellis found herself overwhelmed by the sheer volume of patients in the emergency room. Each protest brought in a new wave of injured individuals, and her heart ached for every story she heard. The physical demands of her job were immense. She was on her feet for hours, rushing from one patient to another, bandaging wounds, administering medications, and offering emotional support took a toll on her body. Despite her best efforts to stay energized, fatigue began to settle in like a heavy blanket. Veronica had always been passionate about nursing, but this time was different. The emotional weight of the situation pressed down on her shoulders. Each protester she treated represented not just a statistic but a living person with dreams and hopes for a better future. She felt their pain and shared in their struggles, which made her work both rewarding and draining. The cries of anguish, the stories of bravery, and the moments of despair lingered in her mind long after she left her shift. Sleep eluded her, as she often replayed their faces and their words, wondering if she could have done more. Her usual routine of self-care fell to the wayside as she prioritized her patients over her own well-being. She would sometimes grab a quick bite between patients, but even that felt rushed and inadequate. Eventually, the exhaustion became too much. One fateful evening, after days of non-stop work, Veronica collapsed in the hospital staff room. It was a moment that highlighted the sacrifices made by those who chose to stand on the front lines during a critical time in history. Little did she know that this moment of vulnerability would lead to recognition from one of the most influential figures of the civil rights movement. One evening, after several grueling days of non-stop work in the emergency room, Veronica Ellis felt the weight of exhaustion closing in on her like a thick fog. The hospital staff room was dimly lit, filled with the faint scent of antiseptic and coffee. She had just finished tending to a particularly difficult case when a wave of fatigue washed over her, making it hard to focus. Despite her efforts to push through, her vision began to blur. As Veronica took a few steps toward the small couch in the corner, her legs gave out from under her. She collapsed onto the floor, the world around her fading into darkness. The sound of scrubs rustling and muffled voices filled her ears as her colleagues rushed to help. Alarmed shouts echoed through the staff room as fellow nurses and doctors rushed to her side, their faces etched with concern. "Get the stretcher!" one nurse shouted, while another checked for Veronica's pulse and began fanning her face. It wasn't long before they lifted her gently and carried her to the nearest examination room. They quickly monitored her vital signs while attempting to revive her from this sudden collapse. The atmosphere shifted from chaos to focus as everyone fell into their roles, each person aware that this was a colleague who had given so much of herself only to reach a breaking point. An attending physician looked concerned but urged calm. He knew how important Veronica was during this critical time. As she regained consciousness, still disoriented and weak, she heard familiar voices reassuring her that she was safe. The true depth of support from her colleagues became clear as they updated her on their efforts and promised to care for the patients in her absence. Little did anyone know that this moment would echo far beyond the walls of the hospital, leading to an unexpected encounter with Dr. King himself. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was more than just a leader. He was a symbol of hope and resilience during the civil rights movement. Known for his powerful speeches and peaceful protests, King dedicated his life to fighting for justice and equality for African Americans. He recognized that the struggle for civil rights was not solely about laws or policies, but also about the human spirit and the everyday heroes who stepped up to support the movement. In his travels across the nation, Dr. King often took the time to acknowledge those who worked behind the scenes, the activists, volunteers, and healthcare workers who risked their safety to provide aid and comfort. He believed that their efforts were just as essential as his own leadership in bringing about change. This commitment to recognizing others was a powerful part of his character. He understood that every voice mattered, and every act of kindness counted. When word reached Dr. King about Veronica Ellis's selfless dedication in caring for injured protesters, he felt compelled to show his appreciation personally. He knew that nurses like Veronica were the backbone of the movement, tirelessly supporting those who fought for their rights on the front lines. King made a decision that would reflect his deep respect for those who labored quietly, away from the cameras and crowds. After hearing about her collapse, Dr. King arrived at the hospital where Veronica was recovering. He chose to wait outside her room for 3 hours, wanting to ensure he could express his gratitude as soon as she awakened. This act of kindness was not just about thanking a nurse. It was a reminder of the interconnectedness of their struggles. In that moment, Dr. King demonstrated how honoring the contributions of others was vital in building a community committed to justice and equity. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. understood that the fight for civil rights was not just about grand speeches or marches. It was also about recognizing the everyday heroes who contributed to the cause. When he heard of Veronica Ellis's dedication and her collapse from exhaustion, he felt an immediate connection to her story. He realized that Veronica's selfless commitment to caring for injured protesters represented the spirit of the movement itself: compassion, courage, and resilience in the face of adversity. Determined to show his appreciation, Dr. King made the decision to visit her in the hospital. It wasn't enough for him to simply send a note or a phone call. He wanted to be there in person to express his gratitude. This was a testament to his character. King believed in the power of personal connection and felt it was vital to honor those who sacrificed so much for others. Arriving at the hospital, Dr. King stepped into the bustling environment filled with nurses and doctors working tirelessly to heal their patients. He moved through the corridors with purpose, hoping to bring light into a challenging situation. As he reached Veronica's room, he paused outside, knowing she had been through so much and needed time to recover. For 3 long hours, Dr. King waited patiently in the hallway, surrounded by medical staff who occasionally exchanged curious glances at the man whose presence carried such significance. The energy in the air was palpable as people whispered about his visit. They were keenly aware that this moment was not just about a leader thanking a nurse. It symbolized a profound respect for all those standing on the front lines during such a crucial time in history. When Veronica finally stirred from her slumber, slowly regaining her strength, she opened her eyes and saw Dr. King waiting there, ready to convey his heartfelt thanks. Their encounter would mark an unforgettable moment where 2 lives intertwined through shared commitment and hope for a better future. Dr. King's decision to wait 3 hours outside Veronica Ellis's hospital room spoke volumes about his character and the values he held dear. In a world filled with chaos and strife, he understood that acts of gratitude could forge connections that would inspire others to keep fighting for justice. By choosing to be present during those hours, he elevated the significance of appreciation in a time when frontline workers like Veronica were often overlooked. As he stood there in the hallway, surrounded by the bustling sounds of nurses tending to patients and doctors discussing care plans, Dr. King reflected on the many sacrifices made by individuals like Veronica. He realized that her work extended beyond the walls of the hospital. Each patient she cared for was a testament to her commitment to a cause greater than herself. While many saw only the protests and speeches, Dr. King understood that those who provided care were equally vital in this struggle for civil rights. The 3-hour wait was not just about expressing thanks, it was an acknowledgement of collective resilience. Dr. King believed that recognizing and celebrating contributions from all corners of society could strengthen the movement. His dedication to waiting illustrated a powerful message. Everyone involved in this fight deserved recognition, from those on the front lines risking their lives to those quietly supporting them through acts of kindness. When Veronica finally awoke and saw him there, it was not merely a meeting between a leader and a nurse. It symbolized solidarity and mutual respect. In that moment, both understood they were part of a larger narrative, one where compassion fueled change and every act of service mattered. Dr. King's patience served as a reminder that true leadership includes honoring those who uplift others, fostering unity in the relentless pursuit of equality for all. As Veronica Ellis gradually awoke from her deep slumber, the first thing she noticed was the soft, comforting sounds of the hospital around her. Her mind was foggy, but as she blinked and focused, her eyes fell upon an unexpected figure standing quietly beside her bed. It was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The sight of him made her heart race and filled her with a mix of surprise and disbelief. How could it be that this influential leader had come to see her, a humble nurse? In that moment, an overwhelming sense of honor washed over Veronica. She had dedicated herself to caring for the injured protestors, pouring her heart into her work, but she never imagined that someone like Dr. King would recognize her efforts. His presence was both humbling and inspiring. It felt as though the weight of her exhaustion had been lifted, replaced by a powerful affirmation that what she did truly mattered. As he spoke, his voice resonated with warmth and sincerity. He expressed his gratitude for her tireless care and compassion, emphasizing how essential frontline workers were to the civil rights movement. Each word he shared felt like a balm to her weary spirit, igniting a passion within her that had been dimmed by fatigue. She realized that she was not just healing physical wounds but also contributing to a larger fight for justice and equality. Caught in a whirlwind of emotion, Veronica felt tears welling in her eyes. Meeting Dr. King symbolized recognition not just for her but for all the unsung heroes who labored behind the scenes. In that brief encounter, she understood the profound impact of their shared purpose, a movement fueled by love and dedication to change the world. As they exchanged words, she felt an unbreakable bond forming between them, grounded in their mutual commitment to uplift one another. This meeting would forever be etched in her memory, serving as a reminder of the strength found in solidarity and the importance of recognizing the contributions of every individual in the fight for justice. The moment Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. expressed his gratitude to Veronica Ellis became a powerful symbol of unity and respect within the civil rights movement. In times of hardship, acknowledgement can serve as a beacon of hope, reminding individuals that their sacrifices and struggles do not go unnoticed. For Veronica, hearing Dr. King's words was not just a personal honor, it represented the collective recognition of all who worked tirelessly behind the scenes. In an era marked by division and strife, such moments of appreciation fostered a sense of community among those fighting for justice. It highlighted the interconnectedness of their efforts, how every nurse, activist, and volunteer contributed to a larger goal. The simple act of expressing thanks transformed into a rallying cry that encouraged others to continue their work with renewed vigor. Dr. King's visit also emphasized the importance of valuing frontline workers, often overlooked in the grand narrative of social change. By taking time out of his busy schedule to acknowledge Veronica, he sent a clear message that their roles were crucial to the movement's success. This recognition inspired others to uplift each other, creating an environment where gratitude became a vital currency in their shared struggle. Moreover, this encounter illustrated how acts of kindness could strengthen resilience in challenging times. In a world filled with chaos, Dr. King's heartfelt gesture was a reminder that compassion could spark connections that transcended individual efforts. It encouraged others to show appreciation for one another, fostering solidarity among those engaged in the fight for civil rights. Ultimately, this moment turned into more than just an interaction between a leader and a nurse. It became emblematic of the respect and unity needed to push through adversity. The bonds formed through gratitude would empower countless individuals moving forward as they continued their journey toward justice and equality for all. Veronica Ellis's story is a poignant reflection of the spirit of service and camaraderie that defined the civil rights movement. Her unwavering commitment to caring for injured protesters exemplified the dedication and resilience exhibited by countless individuals who answered the call to support their communities during a time of great turmoil. In her moments of exhaustion and challenge, she embodied the selflessness that was crucial to the movement's success. The recognition she received from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. serves as a reminder of how vital it is to honor those who work tirelessly behind the scenes. His heartfelt gratitude not only uplifted Veronica but also highlighted the essential role of frontline workers, emphasizing that every individual's contribution is significant in the larger struggle for justice and equality. This moment not only inspired her but also sent a rippling message throughout the civil rights community. Acts of kindness and appreciation can uplift entire movements. Veronica's experience illustrates how collective efforts, regardless of scale, contribute to the front lines of change. As her story circulates, it continues to inspire others to engage positively in their own communities. The compassion she showed towards protesters and the recognition she received from one of the most influential leaders in history encourage new generations to carry forward this spirit. It fosters a sense of responsibility that reminds people everywhere that they can make an impact, whether through healthcare, activism, or simple acts of kindness. Ultimately, Veronica Ellis's journey reveals that gratitude and recognition are foundational in building unity among those working toward a common goal. Her legacy serves as a guiding light for individuals looking to contribute meaningfully to society, inspiring them to recognize their efforts and those of others as part of the ongoing pursuit for equality and justice. Through stories like hers, we are reminded that even in times of hardship, togetherness and mutual respect can lay the groundwork for lasting change.